Hey, I'm Mr. Roboto, and this is my September 10, 2021 trade review. Very quickly, we'll go over my QQQ thesis. We'll go over all the trades I took, mRNA, BA, Disney, and then SPY. And then at the end, I'll talk a little bit about my reflection on the day. Friday was a great day for me, but it could have really been a day to like make my month if I was able to have capitalized on it, which I was not able to. So we'll talk a little bit about that at the very end. So let's jump right in. So QQQ, again, I always start my day by sort of coming up with a thesis off of QQQ and what QQQ is looking to do that day. So going into Friday, I was pretty bearish on QQQ, and I'll show you why. So if we look at the daily, again, let's ignore the last candle because this was Friday. This is what happened on Thursday. On Thursday, the buyers or the bulls brought it all the way back up, but then they got stuffed at this 1 hour supply and they failed to make a higher high. So I was a little bullish. Sorry, a little bearish going into Friday. And then if we look at intraday, so let's look at intraday. Let's go ahead and look at a 10-minute. So I've been talking about this, but we've essentially been trading in this range, up and down, up and down, up and down. And on Thursday, we got to the very top of this range, and we just continued to sell off the entire day. Like the bulls could not, take control, and you'd want them to essentially, if they were to take control, you'd want them to maybe buy it up here and then bring it to the top of this supply, or bring it at least pierce the supply, kind of like what it did on this day. But since this day, the bulls have not been able to bring it back into supply. The bears haven't really been doing much better because every time it gets down to this demand, the bulls buy it back up. But so we're essentially been trading in this range, in this balance. But to me, the bulls looked weak, having sold off like this on Thursday. Now look at what happened in pre-market. We pretty much got all the way back up to the top of the range, and this is fine. It looks like it's been doing this. They bring it down and they bring it back up in pre-market. And look at what happened the last time they brought it up in pre-market. They brought it up in pre-market and then they got stuffed. So I was pretty bearish going into the day because this is exactly what they did the day before. They brought it back up to the top of the range, and they actually made, you look at the highs from Thursday, they made a lower high at open. So I was I was bearish at market open, and then two, once market open happened and we sold off like right around here, I was extremely bearish on the day because we made a lower high. And then if you kind of just look at the bigger picture on the daily, the fact that we were starting to curl over like this. So that kind of just like when you start seeing this over time, you kind of just, you start leaning bearish, or at least I do. Look at this. We're starting to have this curl, and then eventually we curled all the way down to here. We're starting to have a curl here, and then we went all the way down to this. And this doesn't always happen. A lot of times there's fake outs and stuff, but anytime I start seeing curling like that, I start thinking that we're gonna go pull back a little bit. And I did want to mention SPY a little bit because SPY was a little bit more bearish going into Friday. There was a much larger curl, off of Thursday. So, when you include all these different factors and the fact that SPY was has pulled back a little bit more, and then like QQQ is just lagging behind it. When you include all those factors, I was again pretty bearish on the day. But I wanted to trade mRNA. mRNA was pretty much my number one watch on the day, and the reason why was because I really liked what happened on mRNA on Thursday. So this is what happened on mRNA on Thursday. So you can see that mRNA has essentially just been having, a ridiculous bullish run, right? Ever since it broke through this resistance right here, it's just been going and going and going. So we had a 3 bar play. We had this huge run, a day where we're basing and pretty much in balance. And then on Thursday, it ripped all the way up, right? And I liked this volume on Thursday. This increased volume tells me there's bulls in here and that there's people who really want to get into Moderna. They really want to get into mRNA, me being one of them. So this is how I wanted to play it yesterday on Friday. So let's go into 10. So let's just go to 30-minute. So I got most of my zones off of the 30-minute. So I didn't have this 1 hour demand until like later in the day, but I did have this 1 hour supply. This is actually, I should say, supply, 1 hour supply. But this is what I had on Thursday. Okay, so on Thursday, I had this 30-minute demand zone. So we rallied up and then we based and then we rallied again. So this red candle, remember on demands, I'm looking for red candles. The open of this red candle is the start of my 30-minute demand and goes all the way down. And then there's a smaller zone here, a rally, based again, and then rally. And this was another 30-minute demand. I mark this as weak because I don't usually like to buy here because there's a much better zone here, right? And how do I know this is a much better zone? Well, one, look at this price this price has already wicked down into the zone one time, and it sort of just like blew by this zone. So that right there tells me that if price does get down here again, then it's probably not going to bounce there. But I still like the market just in case the bulls really want to get into mRNA early. There is a chance that the price actually bounces around this zone. I still like the market, but I always like to say it's like weak or something like that. But it's because look at this. It already sold off one time here. What are the chances that the next time it sells off, it's just going to stop right here? Probably pretty slim, right? And the fact that there's a strong big wick on this one. Yeah, there's a wick here too, but this body's bigger. But this is a big hammer. So that tells me there's a lot of demand in this specific zone versus this one. So my plan for today was I didn't want to buy Moderna on the breakout, especially since I was pretty bearish overall on the market. But I did want to buy it on a pullback, and this is an A plus setup to me because having seen this move yesterday, and like just by monitoring the sentiment in the large cap market, like the big move that everyone missed out on yesterday was Moderna. Okay, if you play large cap options and Moderna is on your watch list and you didn't play it yesterday, you have like extreme FOMO. I know I had extreme FOMO because let's look at what happened on Thursday with Moderna. This is what happened on Thursday. There was this is like an obvious flat top right here, right? And Like I was watching this all day on Thursday, and I never played it, and it just exploded. Like this is a huge move. If you played Moderna contracts are pretty expensive. If you played Moderna right here and you went up to here and you had like 10 contracts, I mean that could have been like that's probably like a $3,000 4,000 move, especially if you get up to here. So a lot of people I know, I mean I know that I had a lot of FOMO for missing out this move. It was just so obvious. Um, so knowing that, I know there's a lot of I knew that there would be a lot of bulls who wanted to get into Moderna. Again, myself included. So I knew that my guess was that if Moderna pulls back, a lot of people are going to buy it and bring it right back up. And that's exactly, if we look at intraday, that's exactly what happened yesterday. So let's go here. And I actually posted my executions on Twitter, so if you want to see that, you can see what happened. So we essentially dipped right into my zone. This was the 30-minute zone, and I went pretty heavy because again, this was an A plus setup to me because of all the reasons I stated just earlier. Um, Moderna dipped down right into right into here. I actually did play this 30-minute demand here. I got filled right around here. I played this a little funny, but it worked out great. So I actually got filled right around here for about half of my normal position, and then up to here, I saw a wick, um, and I sold. I sold everything. So I sold everything. I bought half of my normal position here, and I sold everything here because again, this was a weak demand zone, and I figured that it was going to go lower. And having taken a pretty heavy position here, I mean, like usually I'm scaling in and taking just a starter, but I went ahead and took half of my normal position and I scaled it all out here. And at this time, I already had like bids in place. They're like dream bids. Like if they get filled, like I'll be like really happy. I had dream bids right around here. So after selling, I got filled for my dream bids here. And again, this was about a half of my normal position. Um, and then I saw that Moderna was ripping up. So I added here and I added again here. And then at this point I'm up. I mean, I'm like um, I'm pretty heavy into Moderna. Like it's probably the largest position I've taken in maybe 2 to 3 weeks. So again, I've already profited pretty nicely here on just this small move, and then I ended up scaling up here, and I went all out right around here. So from you know from down here, oh, it won't let me draw a circle right now for some reason. But anyways, so from around here, and then selling all the way up here, really happy. And the fact that my dream bids got filled, I was really happy. And so it played out exactly how I planned. So it was just, this was my thesis on it. And the fact that when the setup was doing exactly what I thought, and the fact that I was able to execute to my plan, this was just, an A plus setup that worked out exactly how I envisioned. So great start to my day. This actually made my week. I was taking paper cuts all week and taking base hit wins all week. But when this opportunity presented itself, I was able to capitalize. Okay, and next, I didn't. After this, I tweeted out that this was pretty much just made my week, and I'm going to just look for A plus plus setups moving forward, and that's sort of what I did. BA was on my watch for playing puts, and the reason being was I think I've talked about BA a lot this week, but I've already talked about my thesis in the past. I think BA is going to go down, and following this trend line, this downward channel, I think there's room for BA to go down, and that's why I'm pretty bearish on BA. And so far that thesis has been correct. So let's see how I played BA. Again, you can see that in the morning they brought it back up, and they're at the top of this supply zone. If there was really bulls here, right, they would have probably like made a higher high or something, or right at open they should have been able to like go and make a higher high at open. That is not what happened. They brought it up in the pre-market, made a lower high, and then they just sold off in the morning, right? And I actually played BA right here. So on this break, I had puts under 212 with selling volume. So I actually played this break right here. I didn't stay in it too long because I was already up pretty big on the day and I didn't want to give any profits back. So I actually, my target was this right here, this previous resistance. I thought there would be a small chance that the price would get stuffed right here and they bring it back up. This was not the case. They brought it all the way down. And then in hindsight, it was fairly obvious that BA was going to keep going down. There's no reason for it to stop right here. But this was just a very conservative play for me. And I was targeting it as a base hit. My plan was to just take base hits for the rest of the day and not try to um, you know, take on any more unnecessary risk and potentially give back some of my mRNA profits. So I got puts there and I ended up selling selling my puts right around here. It would have been a huge move if I would have caught it all the way down here, but again, for the reasons I stated, I was okay with just this base hit. Disney I had an alert on Disney. I didn't really look at it yesterday morning, but I did have alerts on Disney if it broke this. I think it was this level. Um, uh, I ended up getting an alert on Disney. I think when it made a new low of day. Yeah, when it made it a new low of day, right around here is when I got an alert, and I entered here, and I didn't stay in Disney long at all. But I did take it pretty heavy. So at this point, I was a little mad at myself for not holding BA longer. So when I saw this, and knowing that the day was pretty much a bearish trend day, I went pretty heavy right here. Um, and then I sold. I covered into the end of day right around here. So this is a good win. Probably a double base hit or something like that for me. And you can see this trend line right here. Let me see. You can see this trend line. It's making higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. And if the price action breaks that higher low, then that's a pretty easy short, right? So I played the break of this trend line and I wrote it down just to the end of day. And I played SPY twice. I actually played SPY long the first time. So I had this supply turn demand zone already predefined from the night before. This is actually a pretty weak zone. I wouldn't recommend playing this zone, but I thought if we were going to get a bounce anywhere today, then it was either going to be around this area, or another one would be this demand zone right here. So I guess this was a 1 hour demand zone. I like this more because there's a lot. The price had stayed in this range a little bit longer, So I'm thinking there might be more buyers here, or shorts who are trying to cover right here. Again, this was a supply turned demand. Um, Arguably a very weak zone, and like I said, I probably wouldn't recommend playing this one specifically, but for me and what happened on Friday, the price did end up bouncing right here. So I played long right around here. I didn't hold it for too long because I having a pretty bearish sentiment on the day. I didn't want to be long on anything for too long. So I took, and I saw seller exhaustion on the 15-minute. So that's actually when I entered. So if we look at here, look at this red candle. You see the size of this body, and then you see this volume, right? And then you compare that size of this candle. You compare that size with this body, and then the smaller volume here. So these are almost the same size. This is probably 3/4 the size of this, right? But the volume here is about half the size. This volume is about half the size of this one. So that screams an anomaly to me, and that signals potential seller exhaustion because with this much volume, then this candle body should be half the size of this one. So half the size of this one should be about, let's just say, like, that's how large this one should be. But this one is obviously a little bit longer, right? It's a little bit longer. Like I said, it's about 3/4 the size of this one. So again, this having a larger body than what it should, but a smaller volume. This is like a volume anomaly to me, and that potentially means seller exhaustion. Um, and if you don't understand that, just understand the psychology behind that. Is like, so this is how much the sellers were able to sell. This is the volume, right? And we got half the amount of sellers on this candle, half the amount. So the body should be about the same, should also be half the amount. But this body is actually pretty much bigger than that. So the price went down lower than it should have, if that makes any sense. Um, I may need to clarify that in a later. I may have just confused myself, but this is what this was screaming seller exhaustion to me at the time. I actually took some calls right around here. I didn't stay in it too long. I sold right around here, and but I did flip. I ended up flipping puts. So I took puts right around here, and I wrote this down to not too far. I ended up writing it down to right around there. So those were most of my trades today. Mrna was a large outlier to all of these trades, but I did also want to talk about. So yeah, I played the SPY calls and then I flipped and played SPY puts, and my plan was to flip. I wanted to play the SPY bounce because that seller exhaustion to me was pretty obvious. But I didn't want to stay. I didn't want to stay in the SPY calls for too long because my end goal was to play SPY puts. So that's what I ended up doing. But I did want to talk a little bit about some. I've had a moment to reflect today, and a little bit on Friday, um, and the fact that I knew, or I was able to recognize that Friday was essentially a trend day. A trend day is when it's either whole market is all going up, or the market is all going down, and pretty much on Friday, the market was all going down, and probably breaking new lows or the opposite, breaking new highs. Trend day is when you want to capitalize. Because if you're trading with the trend, you that's probably like the best days for you to go heavy or heavier, and hold on a little bit longer to your positions. You want to do those on trend days. And the reason being is because if you look at QQQ, it broke through this demand zone that it's been trading in for like, I don't know, a couple days now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's been trading in this range for a week now. And the fact that it finally broke down, this is your trend day. The trend um, is like, if you are short this day, this is where your money is going to be made, right? And the opposite, this was a potential trend day. So we were trading in this range, up and down, up and down, up and down, down, up. And then boom, we had this huge day, right? And it broke through this demand zone, this supply zone. So if you're bullish this day, then you're gonna make the most money, right? In these days you can be bullish or bearish. It's like 50-50. This day it's all balanced, 50-50, bullish and bearish, bullish and bearish. But this is 100%. The bulls won this day, right? 100% the bulls won. The bears won this day. So the fact that I recognized today was a trend day, but was not able to, other than mRNA, which I actually was trading mRNA the other direction. I was long on mRNA. But the people who made the most money yesterday were the people who were short up here, and they rode it all the way down. They rode the trend day all the way down. The fact that I was not able to do that, despite knowing that today was a potential trend day, kind of irritated me a little bit, because if you catch one of these trend days, that could be your whole month, or at least your whole week, right? So that was a little bit of a frustration, not frustration, but like a little bit of like, for next time, if I'm in this position where I recognize a trend day, I need to just essentially stop being a bitch and just size up and ride it out a little bit longer, right? So yeah, I actually was staring at Tesla all day yesterday, but failed to go short on it. And Tesla gave so many setups yesterday. Let's look at Tesla here. So, you could have played this low of daybreak. You could have went short here, right? You could have played this right here. This is essentially like a flat top, or a flat bottom. You could have played the break right here. So this was a move I miss. This is a short move I miss. What is this trend line I drew here? And then this was another one, another low of daybreak. This was essentially another move. Like I said, there was like 2 or 3 moves on Tesla that I absolutely just failed to capitalize. You size up in any one of these, knowing that today was a red trend day, you could have made like I said, your whole month just today. And then your targets would have been, let's see what your targets would have been. So I had these previous zones, but on DOS I actually drew zones during the day. So I thought this would be a good price target. PT1 right there. And I thought this would actually be another good price target right around here. PT2. And you pretty much got it. Look at this. You pretty much got it. If I would have just not been a bitch and tried to protect my profits and played this move, like this would have been, I don't know what the price was, but if I would have had 10 contracts at Tesla here and wrote it down in here, I'm assuming that's at least, maybe at least 5, 10K, right? Um, but yeah, failure to capitalize, even though the setup was staring me right in the face 3 different times on Friday. But I still did not play it. And that's sort of a character flaw that I need to sort of get over. And I know what the reasoning was. The reasoning was because um, I have these emotions when I'm up big on the day. I'm already up on mRNA. I don't want to give anything back. I've had days where I'm up huge, like 4 figures, and I end up in the day like, only with like $100 because I overtraded and because I sized up after already being up big, and then I revenge trade a little bit when I lose. So I've had days where I'm up like say I'm up 2,000 and I end the day like at a fucking, sorry for my language, at 150. Yeah, that's really frustrating, and that's the last thing I wanted to do today. But sometimes you just got to analyze the situation for what it is, and you got to capitalize on opportunities when they're staring you in the face. So my day today could have been, instead of being like a really good day, it could have been like my biggest day. Um, so yeah, this is something I really need to reflect on. I've been having this issue for the longest time. When I'm up, I play small, even when the opportunity or the setup is staring me in the face. Um, you know, but that has backfired in the past, so it's definitely a balance. But again, this Tesla trade was staring me in the face 3 different times today. If you look at the inverse on Tesla, it's much easier to see this short setup, right? So this is Tesla's price action, but the inverse of that. So again, look at this flat top right here, and then you have this, sort of this increasing volume right here. I'm on the 2 minute. I need to go into 5. So you have this obvious flat top. It tried to break it here, tried to break it here, tried to break it again here, tried to break it again here, and then all of a sudden, and during this entire time, what are you doing? You're making higher highs, right? You're higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, and then all of a sudden, whenever I see this, like the volume dies down, that kind of tells me that's like the what is it? The quiet before the storm. So I look for this sometimes. It's not always the case, but this volume died down, and then it just exploded, right? So you get to plate it. You get to plate it right here, and just play this increased volume and this break. So my entry would have been here, you know, and then whatever, write it up or whatever. And same story, another flat top break right here, and then you get more higher highs. Sorry, higher lows, right? So again, this would have been another entry. Like if this didn't convince me, this should have convinced me to go short. Again, we're looking at it inverse, so I would have gone short. Um, and then Tesla was pretty much telling me, it's like, all right, Mr. Roboto, you missed this thing twice. I want you to get in on this move. I'm gonna give you another freaking setup, and this was the setup. Okay, this is essentially an ABCD pattern. You got your A, you got your B, you got your C, and then this is the freaking D right here, right? Again, higher lows. The cell volume is like not that much, right? in relative to this move, and then you got another entry right here, right? So you have these really good setups. You know, this was an A plus setup, right? This is again at least an A setup. This was probably a B setup, given that Tesla's already made two moves today. This is probably less of a setup in my mind. But you know, maybe it wasn't. Maybe this wasn't a setup because again, the overall market was bearish. Everyone was selling off. So you're riding the trend, you're going with the trend, and you're given dream setups, right? But again, I failed to capitalize. I was in profit protection mode. I didn't want to give anything back, and because of that, I was not able to capitalize on what would have been huge trades had I taken any of them. So yeah, that's it for me. Again, Friday was great. Last week was great. But you could always be better. I could always be trading better and whatnot. So yeah, that's it. If anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out. Again, my DMs are open. And I am planning some more content in the future. Probably going over my strategy, probably going over my morning prep routine, maybe going over my actual trading setup. So I do have some more content in the future. If there's anything that you would want me to go over specifically, I know some people have already reached out and asked for specific things that they want me to go over. Believe me, I have all of that in a list, and I do plan to go over all of that in the future, and make content, whether it's Twitter, whether it's like Twitter posts, or whether if it's actually videos dedicated to whatever content you want. I do have that planned in the future. And yeah, hope this video was able to give you some insight into my thought process on Friday. And I hope this video was helpful for any traders out there. And that's it for me. Thanks.